Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Made with Love. My name is Heather and I can't believe it, but today is already December 23rd. So I just want to say a Merry Christmas Eve to everybody. So usually on the 23rd, 24th, I actually do like my slow cooker hot chocolate. I'm actually not going to do a hot chocolate bar this year like I normally would. I only have my one daughter at home, so there's just the three of us. And we'd rather have eggnog instead of hot chocolate. So I was at the grocery store and they had the coupons. You save 50 cents off your purchase of milk. And on the other side of the coupon was a recipe for homemade eggnog. So this is the recipe I'm gonna try. It's totally different than any eggnogs I've made in the past. I've done the slow cooker eggnog, but I think that was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So it's been a long time since I've done an eggnog. Now this one you're supposed to do it, it says in a double boiler or a heavy saucepan. So I don't have a double boiler, so I'm just using my regular pan here, or my regular pot. So I'm just gonna move my camera so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I just moved my camera just so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna go through the basic ingredients. 6 eggs, half a cup of maple syrup, 4 cups or 1 liter of milk, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which is optional. I'm gonna say I have my salt, but I'm totally out of vanilla extract tonight. I also just double checked to see if I had any, and I don't. And now I've got my animals, are both on the island here. So just gotta move them, so just give me 1 second. Sorry about that. My cat jumped up on the island and then my dog jumped up and we're going to attack each other. Okay, so I'm out of vanilla extract, so I'm not going to be adding any tonight. That's okay. I'm going to start with 6 eggs, and you have to whisk them with the maple syrup and 2 cups of milk. I don't have my burner turned on quite yet. I just want to get these whisked together. Oops, and I've got eggshell in there. I usually crack my eggs into a separate dish before pouring them into the pan, but look at that. I'm just trying to do stuff to have less dishes right now, so I'm just going to do it this way. Okay, so I need 2 cups of milk. I've got my milk in here at 4 cups, so I just need to pour about half of this in. And then half a cup of maple syrup. This is definitely going to be a Canadian eggnog. Maple syrup is something I've never really seen in many eggnog recipes. And of course it does say at the bottom you can make it alcoholic or an adult version by adding whatever type of alcohol. I don't know, I'd have to read that because I don't do alcohol. So, it does say at the end, oh, dark rum. Okay, I don't even know what kind of alcohol you add to eggnog, so we'll look that one up. Okay, so I'm just going to whisk these 3 things together. Now this is where it gets tricky, is doing this. I've had this in the past where I've done 1 of 2 things. One is if you have it on too high of a temperature, you curdle the milk, or sometimes the eggs. This recipe seems to have where you do it like this. I have another recipe where I have the egg separate from the milk, and then you add the milk into the egg slowly, and then the egg and milk mixture back into the milk to temper it. Otherwise you will get scrambled eggs, so you do not want to get scrambled eggs or curdled milk. I've got this mixed together. I'm going to turn this temperature on. I just kind of read what it says. Place on top of a double boiler or a very heavy saucepan until mixture thickens enough to thinly coat a metal spoon, or it hits 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 70 degrees Celsius. Takes about 15 minutes. So yeah, it says do not boil. So it doesn't even say what temperature to heat this up to. So I'm probably going to keep it on a between us, just between simmer and medium. So just that low medium kind of a temperature. So just put my burner on to 4, just because I'm not quite sure. As it doesn't say the temperature, which I always kind of get frustrated when recipes don't give you a temperature. But I'm going to grab my thermometer, which I should have already had this out, but I forgot to grab it. And I'm just going to angle it so I can see. I need it to be it says 160. So about there. I'm just going to put it there. I know it's not touching the liquid yet. I just want to do another quick little stir here. I don't know if I'm supposed to continue stirring or not, but just have to wait until its mixture is thick enough to coat a spoon, or it's hit that temperature. So it takes about 15 minutes. Depending on your stove and pan, stir frequently to keep the mixture smooth and prevent scorching. Do not boil. So I guess I will be back in about 15 minutes or so, probably 10-15 minutes, when it's ready to hit that temperature. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes and it's now sitting at, I don't know if you can read that, almost 150. So we got to get up to 160, so probably about another 3 or 5 minutes. It says it should take about 15 minutes. So I think that having my burner on that 4, not quite at a medium, but just that like in between, I guess just below a medium heat. And it's still really smooth. It's still not thick enough to coat a spoon. It's still pretty runny at this stage. So I usually don't like using those, like coating the back of the spoon, or you drop a little drop into the water, how it sets. I'm not very good at using those. I love my thermometers for making, candies and things. So I'd rather use the thermometer. And I gotta get up a little bit more. And then once it's up to the 160, then you have to take it right off the heat immediately. Then you whisk in the remaining ingredients. Then it says to strain through a fine sieve. I'm actually going to miss out on that step tonight. I did look. I think my sieves are all packed. I did find a piece of cheesecloth, but when it says a sieve and not a cheesecloth, then I don't want to use my cheesecloth. The cheesecloth I have is kind of stained from when I was doing my apples anyways, so I don't really want to use that one. I don't have any fresh cheesecloth, so I'm not going to be straining this tonight. And then it says to cover and chill and then consume within your 24 hours. Then you can warm it up and top with nutmeg and or cinnamon. And then of course tips and adult option. Just add some dark rum for a bit of Christmas spirit. So I definitely won't be doing that. But so far I have to say this would be like one of the easiest eggnogs I've ever made. Besides the slow cooker one. The slow cooker one, you just throw it in the pot and you just leave it for 4 or 6 hours or whatever it was. But still, to say I can make eggnog in less than half an hour is still pretty good. So again, I guess with this recipe, you're not adding any spices until you serve. So I'm just, the steam is just making it hard to read. Just trying to see. And then, of course, I moved the thermometer and it started cooling down really fast. hard to read where I need it to be. It's at the 150. I thought it just went up a little more. The steam kind of just covered it, so I guess another just 2 minutes. So I'm just going to keep stirring for another 2 minutes. Let's see, it's just at the 150 again. So I'm trying not to let it boil because it says you don't want it to boil. And I have done that in the past where I've gone to make eggnog and I've scorched my milk. And then when I've added the eggs into the milk, I have, cooked the egg. Just there are two things you don't want. Okay, I'm at that. It's gone just above the 150. Don't think I want it to go any higher than that. I'm just gonna move it off the burner. Move the tea kettle on here just because I always end up burning my arm when I do that. Just gonna move this out of my way so I can break my thermometer, which I've done that before too. And it says just a little quarter, oops, that's too much. Just a little quarter teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna give it a couple little pinches. Just poured too much salt out of my hand, just a brand new thing of salt. And then adding the last 2 cups of milk. And just give this a good whisk. Grab my juice jug here. I prefer pouring hot things into a glass. I don't have a glass juice jug at the moment. Like I said, we're gonna be listing our house in the next like 3 or so weeks. So more and more of my stuff is getting packed. So I'm just gonna pour it into here and stick it in the fridge and let it cool. Scraping out the last little bits of stuff that are stuck on the side here. There you go. Okay, so I'm just going to let this cool and then I will be back shortly to see how it tastes. All right, welcome back. It's actually the next day. I meant to do this last night, but I had made the eggnog and then I had to go in the fridge for 4 to 6 hours before you serve. You can serve it warm or cold. I prefer eggnog cold. So here we go. I'm gonna try it. Like I said, this was a recipe I've never made before. I've made eggnog in the slow cooker, but I've never actually done it on the stove. So I'm just gonna pour it into my cup here. Just gonna see how it tastes. That tastes really good. I'm just gonna pour a little bit more in and add some spices. I've got my spices here beside me because I was about to make a pie. So I've got a little bit of cinnamon and the nutmeg. I also have allspice and clove, but I just prefer the taste of cinnamon and nutmeg in my eggnog. Grab this one. It's closest. No, it's too big to stir, but that's okay. Just grabbing a spoon. Just gonna try this with the spices. I mean, you could always warm it up, but let's see. It definitely tastes really good with the spices. So I definitely recommend, this recipe. I'll definitely be making more of it today. Again, it's just a very simple, basic, just a few ingredients. So again, it's just your 6 eggs, half a cup of maple syrup, 4 cups of milk, half a teaspoon of vanilla, which unfortunately I was out of, which I think would have given it that extra little spice or taste that it needs, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which is optional. Now I would say because I use the maple syrup, I really think it could use a little more salt. I would prefer, I like sea salt or the Himalayan pink salt when I'm using my maple syrup. I don't know, that could just be Canadian thing or just my thing. I don't know. I love the taste of the sea salt or the pink salt with the maple syrup. Also surprising that I'm actually out of maple syrup in my house. So that is something I've got to go purchase too. Very few things do I ever run out of. Okay, again, I just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody, Happy New Year, and thank you for subscribing to my channels and watching my videos, and I'll see you in the next ones. Bye.